Hash the secret on the steps. The autumn leaves danced across the marble steps of the old courthouse, swirling in gentle circles before settling into golden piles. Jake Thompson sat on his worn toolbox, adjusting a wrench in his calloused hands. The morning sun cast long shadows through the towering columns, creating a peaceful pattern of light and shade across the grand entrance. He had been working on the courthouse's old heating system for 3 days now. The building was beautiful, but its bones were tired. Pipes creaked, radiators wheezed, and the boiler in the basement rumbled like an old man complaining about the weather. Jake didn't mind. He understood old things. They just needed patience and the right touch to keep working. A small sound caught his attention. He looked up to see a little girl sitting on the steps about 10 feet away. She wore a soft blue sweater and a pink knitted hat with a cheerful pom-pom on top. In her arms, she clutched a brown teddy bear that looked well loved, with one ear slightly more worn than the other. The girl couldn't have been more than 4 years old. Her cheeks were pale, and she sat very still, as if moving took too much effort. Jake had seen that look before. His own daughter Emma had looked like that during her treatments last year. The memory made his chest tighten, but he pushed it away. Emma was healthy now, running around at preschool like nothing had ever been wrong. "Hello there," Jake said gently, setting down his wrench. "Are you waiting for someone?" The little girl looked at him with serious brown eyes. "My mommy is inside talking to the important people," she said, her voice soft and tired. "She said I could sit here with Mr. Bear." Jake nodded. He understood. Sometimes grown-ups had business that took a long time, and waiting was hard for little ones. Especially little ones who didn't feel well. "Mr. Bear looks like a good friend," Jake said, moving a little closer but being careful not to crowd her. "What's your name?" "Sophie," she replied, hugging the teddy bear tighter. "What's that?" She pointed to the leather tool belt around his waist. "These are my tools. I fix things that are broken." Jake unhooked a small flashlight and showed it to her. "See, this helps me see in dark places where pipes hide." Sophie's eyes grew a little brighter. "Do you fix everything?" Jake felt that familiar ache in his chest. "I try to fix what I can," he said honestly. "Some things are trickier than others." They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Jake went back to organizing his tools, but he kept glancing at Sophie. She seemed so small on those big marble steps, like a tiny flower in a vast garden. After a few minutes, Sophie shifted uncomfortably. She looked toward the heavy courthouse doors, then back at Jake. "The steps are really tall," she said quietly. Jake followed her gaze. The courthouse entrance was indeed imposing, with 20 wide marble steps leading up to the doors. For a healthy adult, it was nothing. For a sick little girl, it might as well have been a mountain. "Are you thinking about going inside?" Jake asked. Sophie nodded slowly. "Mommy said to stay here, but..." She trailed off, looking uncertain. "But what, sweetheart?" Sophie was quiet for a long moment. Then she looked directly at Jake with those serious brown eyes. "If you carry me up the stairs, I'll tell you a secret." Jake's heart squeezed. There was something in the way she said it, something that reminded him of all the small bargains children make when the world feels too big and scary. He thought of Emma, how she used to negotiate for extra bedtime stories or one more hug before treatments. "What kind of secret?" he asked gently. "A really good one," Sophie said, her voice barely above a whisper. "About Mr. Bear." Jake looked at the teddy bear, then back at Sophie's hopeful face. He could see she was getting more tired. The pale morning light made her skin look almost translucent. "Well," Jake said, standing up and dusting off his jeans, "I think I'd like to hear that secret. And these old steps could use some company anyway." He approached slowly, giving Sophie time to change her mind. But she held up her arms trustingly, the teddy bear squished between them. Jake lifted her carefully, surprised by how light she was. She settled against his shoulder with a small sigh of relief, as if she'd been holding herself up through sheer will and could finally relax. "Comfortable?" he asked. Sophie murmured against his shirt. Jake began climbing the steps slowly, his boots making soft echoing sounds on the marble. With each step, he could feel some of the tension leaving Sophie's small body. By the time they reached the halfway point, she was resting her head against his shoulder completely. "So," Jake said softly, "what's this secret about Mr. Bear. Sophie was quiet for a moment, and Jake wondered if she'd fallen asleep. Then she spoke, her voice muffled but clear. Mr. Bear used to belong to another little girl, she said. A long time ago. Mommy told me. The little girl got all better, and when she grew up, she wanted Mr. Bear to help another little girl get better too. Jake's steps slowed. Is that so? Uh-huh. And you know what else? What else, Sophie? Mr. Bear told me something last night. He said that people who fix broken things have special hands. Magic hands that make everything work right again. Jake stopped walking entirely. They were near the top of the steps now, the courthouse doors just a few feet away. He could feel Sophie's small hand patting his shoulder gently. He said, Sophie continued, that maybe if someone with magic hands carried me up the stairs, some of that magic might help me get better too. Jake's throat tightened. He understood now. This wasn't just about tired legs or tall steps. This was about hope. About a little girl trying to find magic wherever she could, the same way Emma had collected 4-leaf clovers and made wishes on dandelions. Sophie, Jake said softly, I think Mr. Bear might be onto something. He climbed the last few steps and set Sophie down gently near the courthouse doors. She looked up at him with a small smile, the first real smile he'd seen from her. Thank you, she said, hugging Mr. Bear close. That was the best secret I ever told. Just then, the courthouse doors opened, and a woman with Sophie's same brown eyes hurried out. There you are, sweetheart. I was wondering where. She stopped, seeing Jake. This is Jake, Sophie said proudly. He has magic hands that fix things. And he carried me up all the stairs so the magic could help me get better. The woman's eyes filled with tears as she looked at Jake, understanding passing between them without words. Thank you, she whispered. Jake nodded, unable to speak past the emotion in his throat. He watched as Sophie's mother scooped her up, and together they walked toward the parking area. As Jake gathered his tools, he found himself smiling. Sometimes the most important things he fixed weren't pipes or boilers at all. Sometimes they were small hearts that needed to believe in magic. And sometimes, he thought, touching the tools at his belt, maybe there really was a little magic in knowing how to make broken things work again.